Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to In the Pocket with Suzii. So, the quality is terrible. I apologize for that, but something came into me and wanted to share this. So, regardless of the quality, hear it for the message that is coming through. You know, life is so interesting in that nothing ever really goes according to plan. And when it hits you, you just really have to show up in the moment and you decide. You always get to decide whether you want to be with it or let it go. So any creative ideas that comes through, think of it as like just these moving clouds that they're always constantly popping through, and they are going to kind of like move and mobilize and circulate into the space where people are either manifesting or praying for them. But it is only up to us, the one that when the idea in the cloud is in front of us or on top of us, that we get to say, yes, I want this. And you grab this and you turned it into an action of sort, that it actually manifests into something in the physical form. If we just think it's a good idea or we sit on it too long, especially if it's the things that we actually have been asking for, if we sit on it too long, then it just goes by. It goes by to the next person, next group, next whatever, that somebody is ready to take on this creative idea and have that come through and have that to be realized. All these creativity ideas that comes through, the things that it wants, which is to be in the physical form. So if we are not ready for it, even though we've been asking for it, we will just not have the opportunity to really create that. This is why a lot of time, when you think about something, you're like, oh my God, this is an amazing idea. Sometimes you store it. Sometimes you're like, nah, it's great, but I can't because of this. I can't because of that. Or I'll put it off till later on. And you just don't act on it. And then whether it's a few days, few weeks, few months, few years later, somebody else comes up with exactly what you're thinking. And you're like, oh my God, that was my idea. I thought of it first. But you did not act on it. So the biggest thing I wanted to share today is that when we have these guides, when we are planting these creative, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be creative, whatever things that you want to happen, you're praying and you're manifesting, you're planting these seeds, be ready to act on them. Or just be okay that it's just not your time yet. We get actually very fixated on ownership, right? Attachment to the idea because we thought of it and we're like, oh my God, this is my idea. It's so good. And I want to do this. I want to do that. And then when it comes to time to actually act on it, we have all these excuses that come through, or really is just not feasible and not available for you to actually carry that out. So you let that go. But when you see someone else acting on it, or that it lives now outside, we get a couple of things. One, we get really jealous. You're like, oh man, that was my idea. I had it first. So there's this righteousness that comes through, right? And sometimes we get really sour on that righteousness. It's just like, well, I thought it first. Yeah, she may have done it, but it was my idea. And, that actually serves nothing. But the only thing is served and soothed is the ego. To know that, or at least it was my idea first. Secondly, sometimes it also deflates us. You're like, oh my gosh, she got it done. See, I told you I couldn't get it done. And really deflate us. But what I want you to really think about is that this idea that has, quote unquote, flown away from us, I want you to reshift this and think about it as in how powerful you are in planting the seed and having it come back to you and having it manifest in the world. You had something to do with this particular thing that was in your mind, and now is a fruition in the world. No matter how big or small, you had a part to play with it. So acknowledge that, because that is really powerful. And number 2, it's okay. That also means if you could think it, if you could believe it, if you could plant it, if you could manifest it, that thing that was realized out in the world, that means you have new ones coming in. As long as your portal is open, then you will have new ideas, new thoughts, new prayers, new seeds that you want to plant. It is now for you to recognize the power you have in you. Now prepare yourself so that the next time you pray for something, next time you plant a seed for something, next time you manifest and journal about something, be ready. Be ready to carry out the next step of that. Because it is possible. And it doesn't always have to be fleeting. In my own world, there are a lot of ideas, whether it's personal, whether it's business, whether it's whatever. There's so many things where I have thought of, but I didn't take enough action on it. And now I see out in the world, and I can recognize that that's my idea. I thought of that. Wow, she's doing that. Wow, there's a whole store, a whole business, making money, making connection, beautifying the world, doing all the things that was in me. It's still in me. Now the last part that I want to share is that it doesn't mean just because you see it out in the world, maybe it's the exact same thing of like what you were imagining or whatever it is. Even if it is exactly the same thing, it does not mean, especially if you still have the drive and the passion for it, it doesn't mean that you can't and you shouldn't go after that. This is where you really check in your system, in your body, and, recognize that this is now a proof that it works out in the world in a physical form. In a way, the universe is mirroring back to you. Great. Do you still want it? Do you still want to go for it? This is your chance, a new chance for you to be like, shit, yes, I'm going to go for it. Please do not give up just because this thing already exists in you. Out in the world. If it's still a drive, a passion, a love, a burning sensation within you, then this is a second calling. This is a second reminder for you to go after it. Now, of course, given that if you see it and you're like, okay, cool, then somebody has done it, then you check that off, cool, you move on. Then you let go of the attachment. You don't own the idea. You don't own sort of this like creativity. Somebody has done it. It's not so like personal. Like these ideas are flowing around, millions and ideas are flowing around. You just get the opportunity to be the one to initiate and do that. And if you don't, somebody else will. It just goes by. So does that make sense? That if you have these ideas and then you don't act on it, it's gone. Somebody else will act on it. And if you see it out in the world, know that it doesn't mean that you missed. I mean, it means that you missed out on it, but it doesn't mean that you can't take your chance on it again. It doesn't mean you can't act on it. It's confirmation for you, a test for you, and to opportunity to ask yourself, do I still want this? Is this still a love for me? And based on that, you either really go for it now, or you just let it go. And then you know that you are a manifester. You know that you have these magnetism for these creative wells, ideas to come through. So attune to those things. And next time something else comes to you, you get to decide, and you know a little bit better on whether to act on it or let it go. That's my thoughts for today. If you want to work with me, I'll leave my information below. But I'm Suzii, Suzii, 2 eyes, because I believe the I in me sees the I in you. Bye.